You already know something is blocked. You feel it. And the dangerous part is this: if you do not remove it, nothing will change. Because pressure without correction only strengthens the blockage. If you are blocking what God is trying to give you, then the question is not why. The question is what must be removed. Because you do not fix your life by trying harder. You fix your life by correcting structure, not eventually, not emotionally, structurally. My name is Rabbi Shimon, and what I'm about to walk you through is not motivation. It is not encouragement. It is not an emotional speech. What this is a diagnosis. And if you are a man carrying real responsibility, real pressure, real weight, then you already know effort alone is not solving everything. Today we address that, not with encouragement, with structure. Most men are not lacking effort. They are misaligned. I want you to sit with that for a moment, because that sentence changes everything about how you approach your situation. When a man believes he is not working hard enough, his solution is to work harder. He doubles down. He adds more hours. He pushes through more pain. He sacrifices more sleep. He carries more stress. And what happens? Usually one of two things. Either he burns out entirely, or he stays exactly where he is, working even harder, but still stuck. Why? Because the problem was never the effort. The problem was the alignment. Think of it this way. Imagine a pipe carrying water. If the pipe is bent, if there is a kink in the line, then no matter how much pressure you add from behind, the water will not flow freely to where it needs to go. Adding more pressure does not fix the kink. Correcting the kink fixes the kink. And most men are increasing pressure instead of removing the bend. Most men in your position are putting enormous pressure into systems, relationships, habits, and routines that have structural problems. They are trying to force flow through broken architecture. And God is not withholding from them because they are bad men. He is not punishing them. He is simply waiting for the pipe to be straightened. This is the reframe. You are not failing. You are misaligned. And misalignment is fixable. But only if you stop treating effort as the answer and start treating structure as the real question. The Torah teaches us that a vessel must be prepared before it can receive. You do not pour wine into a cracked cup and expect nothing to spill. You repair the cup. You inspect it, you correct it, then you pour. This is not a spiritual metaphor. This is a structural law, and it operates in your life whether you acknowledge it or not. So the question on the table right now is not how much more can you do. The question is, where is your structure broken? Correction restores flow. This is not complicated. But simple does not mean easy to accept, because accepting this law means accepting that the blockage is not outside you. The economy did not block your blessing. Your past did not block your blessing. Other people did not block your blessing. The structure inside your own life is what is blocking your blessing. That is a difficult thing to hear, but it is also the most liberating thing you can hear. Because if the problem is external, you are powerless. If the problem is structural, and if structure can be corrected, then you have agency. You have the ability to change the outcome. Correction restores flow, not prayer alone, not effort alone. Correction, not prayer alone, not effort alone, not good intentions alone. The kind that requires honest assessment, honest removal, and honest rebuilding. I have worked with enough men to know that when something is blocked in a man's life, when the blessing is not arriving, when the provision feels stuck, when the relationships feel stagnant, when the purpose feels distant, there is almost always a structural reason. And that structural reason falls into one of three categories. The identity is wrong, the stewardship is wrong, the capacity is underdeveloped, These are the 3 corrections, and we are going to walk through each one carefully. First correction, identity correction. Become the man who can hold it. Here is something most men have never been told directly. You cannot hold what you have not become. And most men are asking for what they are not yet built to keep. Provision follows preparation. God does not typically deposit into a man what that man cannot steward, sustain, or carry. Not because God is cruel, but because the deposit would destroy the man rather than develop him. If you pour 100 gallons of water into a 5-gallon bucket, you do not get 100 gallons stored. You get a flood, a mess, and a broken bucket. So when a man is asking, why is this not coming? Why is my business not scaling? Why is my relationship not deepening? Why is my leadership not expanding? Sometimes the honest answer is that the man has not yet become who is required to hold what he is asking for. This is the identity correction. It requires you to ask a very uncomfortable question. Am I the man who can actually receive this blessing and sustain it? Not just receive it for a moment, but hold it, manage it, multiply it, and pass it on with integrity. Most men say yes automatically because the ego defends itself. But if you look at the pattern, if you have received and lost, received and wasted, received and not multiplied, that is information. That is structural data about who you currently are and who you still need to become. The identity correction is not about shame. It is not about looking at yourself with contempt. It is about honest inventory. What beliefs do I carry that disqualify me from holding what I am asking for? What behaviors are inconsistent with the version of me that receives this? What character gaps exist between who I am right now and who I need to be? Identify the gap. That gap is your work, not more hustling, not more forcing. Closing that specific identity gap is the correction that allows the blessing to flow. And this takes time, it takes honesty, and it takes the willingness to let go of who you have been in order to become who is required. Second correction, stewardship correction. Manage what is already in your hands. This one is perhaps the most direct correction of the 3, and it is the one most men try to skip past. Before God expands what a man has, he typically looks at how that man is managing what he already has. This is a consistent pattern throughout Torah. Joseph was faithful in the small house before he was given the large kingdom. David was faithful with sheep before he was given a nation. The principle does not change. So let me ask you plainly, how are you managing what is currently in your hands? Because what you mismanage will not multiply. Your time, is it structured or scattered? Are you waking with intention or waking in reaction? Are your days designed around your highest priorities, or are they designed by default by whoever sends the first message, by whatever crisis arises first, by the loudest voice in the room? Your money. Are you managing your current finances with discipline and clarity, or are you waiting to develop discipline until there is more to manage? Because that is the trap. Men tell themselves they will get serious about money when they have more of it. But God looks at how you manage the portion that is already in front of you. That management, or the lack of it, determines what portion comes next. Your relationships. Are you investing properly into the people already in your life? Your wife, if you have one. Your children, your business partners, your community? Or are you extracting from relationships without replenishing them, wondering why they feel dry and distant and transactional? Your body. Are you stewarding the physical vessel that carries your mission? Because a man who does not sleep, who does not eat with any wisdom, who carries enormous stress and never releases it, who neglects his health until it becomes a crisis, that man is not managing his current stewardship well, and a degraded physical vessel limits the weight of what can be carried. Stewardship correction is not glamorous, but it is foundational. You cannot build on mismanaged ground. Fix the management of what you already have, and you will be shocked at how quickly the next level opens. Third correction, capacity correction. Build strength for what is coming. This third correction is about preparation for weight that does not yet exist. Capacity is your ability to handle what is coming before it arrives. Most men wait until something heavy appears and then try to figure out how to carry it under pressure. But that is backwards. You build the muscle before the weight is added. You build the system before the volume increases. You build the emotional and spiritual strength before the storm arrives. What does this mean practically? It means that right now, in your current season, you should be deliberately developing in areas that your future will demand. If you know that the next level of your business will require stronger leadership, then you should be building your leadership capacity now, before you are in the room where it is required. If you know that the next chapter of your life will require more financial wisdom, you should be developing that wisdom now, through study, through mentorship, through deliberate practice. If you know that what is coming will require a deeper spiritual foundation, you should be building that foundation now, not later, not when the pressure hits. Capacity is not built in crisis. Capacity is built in preparation, because weight does not wait for you to be ready. And this is where many men have a blind spot. They live reactively. They manage today's problems with today's capacity. They never deliberately invest in expanding what they can carry, hold, and sustain. And then, when a larger assignment arrives, they collapse under the weight of it. Not because they are weak men, but because they built no margin, no reserve, no structural capacity to absorb the new demand. Build now. Invest in your capacity before the weight arrives. That is the third correction. This is where most men stop, not because they do not understand, but because they do not want to change. Most men want results without reconstruction. Let me be direct with you, because this is where most men stop. This is the section that separates the men who will actually change their structural alignment from the men who will watch this video, feel something for a few hours, and then return to the exact same patterns. You want the business to grow, but you do not want to change how you think about money and risk and leadership and time. You want the relationship to deepen, but you do not want to do the interior work of becoming a man who is genuinely connectable, genuinely present, genuinely emotionally available. You want the provision to increase, but you do not want to change how you manage the provision that is already there. You want the blessing, but you do not want the reconstruction that makes you capable of holding the blessing. This is the honest reality of most men in your position. And I am not saying this to condemn you. I am saying this because the gap between what you want and what you are willing to change is the exact size of the blockage in your life. Results and reconstruction are not separable. You cannot get the first without doing the second. The man who insists on keeping his current structure while expecting new outcomes is in a cycle he cannot see clearly from inside it. Reconstruction is uncomfortable. It requires you to admit that certain things you have been doing are not working. It requires you to let go of habits that feel familiar, even if they are harmful. It requires you to be wrong about some things. It requires patience when you want speed. It requires depth when you want volume. But reconstruction is the only path to a life that actually functions at the level you know, deep in yourself, that it was designed to function at. Most men want results without reconstruction. Be the man who chooses reconstruction, because that man actually gets the results. If you do not correct structure, you will repeat cycles. This is not a threat. This is a description of how reality operates. Most men think they are facing new problems. They are not. They are repeating old structures. Cycles are not random. Cycles are structural. And what is not corrected repeats. When a man has unresolved structural problems in his identity, his stewardship, or his capacity, those structural problems generate repeated outcomes. The same type of financial setback, the same type of relational breakdown, the same type of opportunity that arrives and then collapses, the same type of high that fades into the same type of low. The cycle feels like bad luck to the man inside it, but from the outside, looking at the structure, the cycle makes complete sense. It is entirely predictable, because the structure that produced the cycle has not changed. An unchanged structure produces unchanged outcomes. I have watched men go through the same cycle 4, 5, 6 times. Different circumstances, different faces, different details, but structurally identical. And each time they blame the circumstances. They blame the economy. They blame other people. They blame timing. They almost never look at the structural constants, the things that remain the same across every version of the cycle. And the structural constant is always the man himself. His unexamined beliefs, his unresolved patterns, his uncorrected alignment. This is not harsh judgment. This is accurate diagnosis. If you can see the cycle clearly enough to name it, you can begin to correct it. If you are willing to look at the structural elements of your own life honestly, you will find the source of the cycle. And when you find the source and correct it, the cycle stops. But with enough honest structural work, the pattern changes, because the structure beneath it has changed. Do not let this cycle repeat one more time. The correction is available. The path is real, but you must choose reconstruction over repetition. When structure aligns, flow returns, not because something changed outside you, because something changed within you. This is where we arrive. This is the promise embedded in the law. The work is real. The corrections are real. The reconstruction is genuinely demanding. But the outcome, when a man does this work with honesty and consistency, is equally real. When the identity aligns, when a man has genuinely become who is required to hold the blessing, provision moves toward him differently, not because he forced it, but because the vessel is now ready. When the stewardship aligns, when a man is managing his time, his money, his relationships, and his physical body with genuine discipline and wisdom, the next level of resource and responsibility arrives. Because the track record of small faithfulness creates an opening for greater assignment. When the capacity aligns, when a man has built genuine strength in anticipation of what is coming, the weight of the new season does not crush him. It develops him further. And he carries it with the kind of steady authority that only comes from genuine preparation. This is the resolution. Aligned structure produces restored flow. And this is not a one-time event. This is an ongoing discipline. Structure requires maintenance. Identity requires continued development. Stewardship requires consistent attention. Capacity requires ongoing investment. But when these things are in right order, there is a quality of movement in a man's life that is unmistakable. Things progress, doors open, relationships